Okay, we switch to English for the start of the second half of today's Scaling Agile track. We are very happy to welcome Deema Dajani from SAI. And what will she talk about, Felix?
Actually, I just say I'm so happy Deema is here. Yeah, she's a real expert in lean portfolio management. She is a SAFe fellow I have to look up to. She today will talk about how learning is connected to lean portfolio management, which is a very interesting topic. And she's also a leader in the Women for Agile movement. So welcome, Deema.
Thank you.
For today.
Thank you. Thank you for a very nice introduction, very generous. I'm happy to spend my last few hours here in Germany with you guys. It's been an amazing week. I do work for Scaled Agile, like Felix said. My role is, I'm actually an Agilist. I practice the stuff. My role is product manager. So I'm constantly looking and searching and finding out opportunities how to keep our product and product roadmap fresh and relevant. So with that lens, let me show you some of the pivot we started to make in our own thinking about learning, which that's our product, and how that kind of connects to some of the offerings for lean portfolio management we've introduced. I'd love to get your feedback, like a good product manager. Feedback is a gift. All right. First, get the clicker to work. It's okay. It's all right here. I got it.
I can be your.
But I have I have animation.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's try this out. So, oversimplifying. If I ask you, how has Agile been introduced since the beginning of time? Right? 90s. You may argue 80s. 2001. I can tell you my experience. It was 2001, 2002. I attended a 2-day Scrum Master class, and good luck. Something like this. Class, a little bit of coaching, and good luck. And what we're finding is that's not how humans learn and internalize information. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do in Agile, we're actually shifting hearts, minds, mindset, and ultimately behaviors. We're trying to form new habits. Yeah? So there's this thing called the forgetting curve. An average learner forgets 70% of what they learn in class in the first 24 hours, 90% in the first week. But then I thought, you know, I'm not going to give you a study that's 100 years old. Let me see if there's something more recent or relevant. Okay, we have individuals, it's the 7-20-10 rule. 70% of their knowledge comes from what? Real experiences, on the job, doing. You learn by doing. 20% from, oh, that's an interesting, interactions with other. We're starting to get into the network, the aspects of social learning. And then 10% from the formal education or class. Okay, this is 100 years later, but it's still the 1980s. I mean, those of you that came before the session and heard me sing Madonna, we're about to discover her in this era. Let's look for something a little bit more recent. The 7-20-10 rule actually was elaborated, and this is more recent, 2020, thank goodness, except for the pandemic. It's evolving into the model of social learning. It's basically saying the individual needs more than just the class experience. They need the formalized, that's part of it, micro-learnings, e-learnings, curated lists, and then what's really interesting for me is also the social aspect, the connections, what we share. Sometimes we learn more by sharing and by hearing from a peer or somebody across the pond in a similar thing. So, oh, and I have to give credit and thank you to our senior instructional designer, Kim Hansen here. I'm just the product manager. She's the one that's helping us, along with amazing learning experts, bring in that science. So the other aspect to consider, perfect, is the workplace itself is shifting, right? This is only from a couple of months ago. Gartner published but you've seen other studies, right? This is fairly recent. 6 ways the workplace will change in the next 10 years. Employees will need constant upskilling. HR will have to establish continuous learning environment, meaning knowledge acquisition and transparency, in order to be able to do their day-to-day job. So are you starting to get what we're trying to do here? Is that there is really Agile needs to embrace beyond the classroom for real, impactful, useful change, right? We want happier employees, making better impact in the world. So we're attempting to achieve that mission with it. So we within Scaled Agile, for our safe learning offerings, are attempting and have been investing heavily in modernizing, given that mission. So let me run you through. I'm so sorry, guys. This is a little problematic for me, the clicking. All right. So we recognize, first of all, in all of those studies, even the 100-year-old one, you still need the classroom. We are not moving away from classroom learning anytime soon. It is still the foundation. You build the social network, you meet the peers, you validate, you dig deeper with an instructor, you build the confidence, and you certify, which is highly valuable from an HR perspective, for hiring, for promotion, etc. So that's the classroom, but we want beyond the classroom. The classroom is just the beginning. So we take the model of social learning, specifically what we've embraced within Scale Agile, it's called learning cluster design. And oversimplifying, in essence, it says take the individual, take the role, and surround the individual with all the learning tools, resources, on-demand, social networks that they need to continue their journey day in and day out. Cool. With that, we've been introducing learning in different modalities, practice resources, online assets, collaboration tools. And what better way than to take you through one of those journeys to demonstrate that. We'll take the example of one particular persona. And Felix knows why I picked this one, because that happens to be the area that I've been doing a ton of research in IP development over the past year or two, which is portfolio management. So this is the persona of a portfolio manager. Any of you interact with portfolio managers? Okay, great. So here she is, Paula. Paula is actually pretty experienced. She comes from the area of strategic planning. She's self-driven. There's a change in her career. She is moving into a safe organization. But her background, it's her first time actually getting any exposure to lean, agile, or safe. So they tell her in the next few weeks there will be this big hectic event called PI planning. The arts will be running really fast. They will be speaking a different language, Greek, to them. And she just needs to get through and be able to learn and absorb and support as best as she can. They know she's new. However, apologies, Paula, we cannot put you in class until a month or two later. It happens, right? So what can she do? Well, Paula goes online and she accesses an online learning module that is micro-learning, and it gives her just enough introduction to what is lean agile, what are the principles, what is safe about, and what are some of the basic nomenclature and terminology she's going to be experiencing in this thing coming up called PI planning. So she gets a little bit of confidence. She's able to go through PI planning. And now Paula is ready to start diving deeper in her role. As a portfolio manager in a safe environment, I better start to understand what lean portfolio management is all about. I am signing up for that class. I'm going to go ahead. Felix is around. He's delivering it. So I'm going to go take my class with Felix. There, I will learn what is portfolio management, lean portfolio management, the value of it, how it evolves, and how it's going to help me in my job. And I get to ask him questions, and the peers in the room with me, I get to interact with them and connect with them, because I know after class it would be really helpful to have like-minded people that we can exchange ideas from. What happens after you come out of class? Oh, these leaders are eager. Paula, you're going to lead the transformation to lean portfolio management right here in this organization. Woohoo! Great. And of course, what's a fun, unanticipated assignment without giving you, in 2 weeks, you have a stakeholder presentation in front of senior leaders. Don't worry, just show up with a fully laid out plan how you're going to implement LPM. By the way, yes, this is fictitious, but it is based on several people's stories I've met along the way. All right, so Paula goes online, and she says, where can I find resources beyond this class, the amazing class that was life-changing because Felix taught it to me? Where can I find assets and resources on how to implement LPM? Where to start? What are some of the basics? I need some foundational stuff to get me in front of those stakeholders with a plan that's not going to embarrass me. So she goes, she finds some online resources that actually lays out a roadmap. It's not really linear, but it's basically areas of focus. And behind each of them, there's going to be more details. She finds early on, because we said in learning cluster design, we want them to be curated, a detailed roadmap that's an example from several implementations. She downloads that, she starts modifying it. She finds a readiness checklist because this will also help her modify her roadmap to determine what they currently have in place already versus what are the areas that they need to evolve in. And, oh, by the way, what is anything in terms of change without the people? So let me start to envision what are the possible potential roles and responsibilities, and how do I start to structure that? For sure, those stakeholders, when I present to them, they're not only going to say how and when, they're also going to say who. Great. She finds those things, starts using them, starts formulating them, and then she needs to go to a curated journey that steps her through, step by step, through those early stages, the first few weeks, the first few months, with the embedded assets in them. So she finds this LPM practice guide, the first module, that kind of takes her through that journey. What are some examples that Paula finds and starts to use? And by the way, these are real assets. These are some of the stuff that we worked on over the past year. She finds a slew of information and tools on figuring out the different roles and responsibilities and the types of LPM cadences and almost like the matrix, the interaction between the roles and how to best engage them. Because the research she read tells her that not engaging the right people and not in the right way is probably the number one reason for challenges in LPM journeys. She also starts to get exposure and finds resources behind change leadership, right? LPM implementation is a change leadership journey. It's not just technical, it is at the heart change leadership. So she finds how to establish a sense of urgency and communicate with executives, gives her examples, even templates. She finds how to build a guiding coalition and an LPM COP to start rallying that support, enlisting a volunteer army. This is one of the big pivots in Cotter, where it's now more of a pull change system instead of a push, right? So how do you start to raising interest from various groups to reach that tipping point? how to conduct empathy interviews, etc. So all of that stuff she starts to find, she starts to formulate it. She learns about a galvanizing event, a pattern that's found in other implementations called the LPM kickoff. She even finds a sample agenda, inputs, outputs, even slides. All of that is there at her fingertips in order to start to formulate those early things. Now, she does find stuff that's a little bit farther down the line. She may not present it to her stakeholders yet, but she's starting to gain the confidence that eventually I'm going to hit the big hurdle of shifting towards funding value streams so I can have those wonderful, persistent agile teams and agile arts. So what do I need? Well, she discovers that each value stream or set of arts capacity is not guaranteed. It requires a negotiation. She finds a spreadsheet that she can help facilitate those negotiations. She finds an event called participatory budgeting with an e-learning, how to prepare for it, so she gleans more insight, even furthermore than what she had studied in class, and then some guidance on the epics, because that becomes the currency of articulating these investments. So now, let's go back to Paula. She went and presented to the stakeholders. She had a great presentation. They're encouraged. They feel that she really has built their confidence towards this journey. But they asked her the best question. What do you think senior leaders are going to ask her? How do we know this is paying off? How do we know this is successful? Right? How do I measure success? So she calls Felix. Sometimes he picks up the phone, but that weekend he was out in a conference or a concert, and he doesn't. So she says, okay, let me go online for the time being, and she finds there's a lean portfolio management assessment and even some tooling and guidance on how to facilitate that assessment. She figures, you know, if I'm going to be accountable for results, let me cut or establish the baseline today. Let me visually show where we are in our lean portfolio management so that 3 months later, 6 months later, or whatever cadence we pick, we can show we started here and now we ended there. And also it gives her intel and insight on the areas she needs to now go back and adapt again in her LPM implementation roadmap, right? It's ever evolving, it's iterative, it's never linear. You know, one of the biggest things that came out of the assessment is that they really don't have solid strategic themes. Now she's really calling Felix because he's doing all this amazing strategy formulation work. He's going to be helping and advising her, but he's still at the concert, right? So he will get to her. He tells her, I will meet with you. We'll start to organize the executive session for the strategy work, the strategy formulation. In the meantime, I want you to get a much deeper understanding of how we formulate these strategic themes and good OKRs. Again, go online. There is this guide for you that has best practices, tips, and challenges. Again, micro-sized learning. This is probably going to take her maybe 15 minutes to go through it with some embedded assets, but at least it gives her a start as she prepares. So when she does speak to Felix, she has her homework already. She's already pulled some of the inputs that Felix is going to ask her for anyway. Great. But she needs a little bit more confidence building. And especially that she has a trusted advisor that you know, never leave concert halls. So she's saying, I wonder how other companies are doing it. Are you guys encountering that? Anybody asking you who else is doing it? Can you connect me? Can you introduce me? All the time. I get that all the time. That's great. That's part of the learning cluster, the social aspect. So some discussion forums, they're even segmented by role. There's one for lean portfolio management, one for SPCs, whatever the right slice is. She goes and puts, actually, these are actual screenshots, so that's not Paula anymore, but she puts her questions out there. She starts to hear from this insurance company, that bank, this automotive company, how they're doing some of this stuff. She might even ask about tooling, so please stop asking me about food tooling, ask each other. And then she goes and gets some customer stories. As a matter of fact, she finds a few really interesting customer stories about introducing and evolving lean portfolio management, some of the outcomes they've reached and some of the hurdles and challenges they've overcome. There's reminders for her that there are some areas, caution, that you start to get into more complexity. Here are some trusted advisors that can take you through this journey. And basically, this is Paula, the first few months, and operating on demand when she needs it. She has what she needs available to her at her fingertips. So the reality, what we uncovered is, we ourselves, Scaled Agile Inc., have been transforming as well. We've been shifting our own mindset about what learning is all about. We want the same shared goal of basically Paula succeeding and Paula's organization making a really wonderful impact. We had to shift and transform. So what started as a wonderful, robust framework is now a whole system for business agility with the framework at its heart. The framework has not gone anywhere. It's a system of learning, practice, and knowledge exchange. So this is our abstraction of the social learning cluster design. So now we take the learning cluster design vision that we started with 2 years ago, and we put Paula in the heart of it. We are doing the same exercise with other roles. There's an RTE at the heart of one, a Scrum Master, a Product Manager, fill in the blanks. Are we done? Of course not. But we're excited about the journey, and it's already underway. And what's funny is early on, I kept thinking, this research, every time our learning instructional designers, they would come with these articles. I'm like, this is 100 years old, right? It turns out that real wisdom was 2,000 years old. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. They knew social learning. One more thing. I was trying to do this for impact, but you can't do it with our clicker. And one more thing. We cannot possibly serve Paula the right way unless we are helping her in her own language. So we're very excited. A couple of weeks ago, we released our first of many to come completely German experience courses. So Leading Safe is our flagship course. We always start with it, and more to come down the way. So that's it. Thank you. Easy questions? And feedback as well. I mean, again, I'm a product manager. I'm actually always seeking feedback. Yes?
I was thinking up for Paula, if she starts at a company and she wanted to become a lean portfolio manager, this is quite a different job than implementing LPM. So it's a different skill set. It's a different type of person as well. An LPM stays for years in a company and he knows the product by heart. But somebody who is there for change, he comes and will leave if that is his habit. Do you differentiate that role, or how do you think about that?
So it's interesting. That's a really good question. So when we did the research on the roles or responsibilities in lean portfolio management, there was a distinction between the role of the person implementing LPMs as their main focus. Let's call that Felix for now, the change agent or the internal LACE coach that's experienced in portfolio. And then there's the person that will ultimately owns the day-to-day operations and running of the lean portfolio in the longer run. Felix is going to go away. There's many more concerts to go to at some point. So who's going to own it, right? Who's going to own it? So what we found is in the earlier days of the LPM implementation, Felix and Paula are shoulder to shoulder. You almost couldn't tell because they're both designing it, implementing it together, and starting to operate it. But at some point, the operating part she will continue with. She will be the person that is helping prepare the organizations for future participatory budgeting events, working with the Epic owners, coaching them, making sure that Kanban is in flow. All of those, finding out that you need coordination between the value streams for the cross-cutting epics. She will be, although early on a coach, whether internal or external is helping her, but ultimately she will own this. So this is the expression own to buy, right, or rent to buy. She is implement to own model. And that was really common. Yeah, good question.
Okay, another question. So you brought up here Leading Safe. What are the plans for the future regarding the SAFE trainings? Will they become more interactive? Because especially in Leading Safe, there is so much frontal teaching and so much material which is squeezed into these 2 days, and everybody is like exploding the head. So what are your thoughts about that, and what to expect in the future?
So near-term product roadmap, we're still maintaining our courses, but we are localizing them. But we are also introducing micro-learnings, like all the examples I brought in. These are online micro-learnings to augment and supplement after the course. So those are taking on that new shape. At some point, this experience will evolve as well, but if I tell you that there is going to be tomorrow, it's not as early on. But we are contemplating also investment, and this is probably too much information, investment in our technology infrastructure, where the experience of running the class, the course, becomes more integrated and more digital. Yeah. But the content itself, it's going to take a while before we get to that part, yeah.
In your presentation, you showed us a lot of sources of information. Are they all available to a person with an active LPM certification, or
yes.
do you need Safe Enterprise?
Right now, if all the LPM resources, which quite frankly, they're fairly recent, all developed over the past year, are all under the Implement Adopt LPM page that is available to Safe Enterprise subscriptions members, SPCs, so all SPCs can access it, because how can you teach a class and not be able to access this stuff? And then thirdly, all attendees of the LPM course. So if you've attended the course from the moment you're rostered, you've gained that access.
Just another question. You mentioned the modules for LPM. There are some modules for RTE, newbies, and experience, and there are some modules for SPCs. Is there some kind of roadmap which is planned for different experiences, functions, roles?
Yes, there is.
Let us participate.
So you saw us start the path with the RTE, and that was such a fun process. It was some of the best RTEs from all around the world huddling together with us and helping build the RTE essentials. And if you contributed, thank you. And then we are also considering the coach, the SPC. You come out of SPC class, you just certified, you want to teach your first class. So we started the first online set of modules for Ready to Train. But then we're also in our roadmap looking to continue that journey and even automate some of it towards more mastery. So if you think of the apprenticeship, right, you start from a novice to a more experience and capturing that in rubrics. have not finalized exactly the timing, but there's two branches. There's continuing the mastery in training and then continuing or starting mastery in coaching. Those are some of the farther out down the line things in our roadmap. And of course, we are considering personas, things like product managers, right? Product management. I mean, I'm in that discipline. Let me tell you, there's so much more to learn and do to be a decent product manager than what's available right now. So yeah, if you have feedback, would love to hear it. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that would have been, in fact, my question as well. Is there something like how do I get started if what material, which you have showed, and there's tons of it, which do I pick first? What is my first step, and how do I move on forwards to implement the LPM?
Yep.
So a roadmap to really use the materials, and that not only for an LPM person, but also for an RTE or for product owner, for business owner, because there are several roles who probably have the same problem. How do I get started? Which material do I need first?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. And I'm personally really excited about that one because this is something that I worked with. Initially, when you open the page, there were all these assets. Now, we tried our best to put them almost chronologically of when we predict they're going to need those assets. But then we realized something is missing. You cannot just slap a checklist, a PowerPoint deck, and this and that, and a video randomly. It lacked context. We started to say I started to say it's the egg in your cake batter that brings it together. Otherwise, it's just dry flour. It's a bad analogy. But what's the binding agent? So we introduced this new asset category. It's not an e-learning. It's we named it practice guide. So if I can find one of the examples. Okay, here's one example. The LPM practice guide. Right now it's sitting in technology that is used for online learning. But what it is multiple topics that are curated. You're actually reading it step by step. It's taking you through the journey, but you can either go straight to a topic or you can go through it logically. And with every topic, it gives you the context that's missing with the embedded assets. So the very same assets on the random page are also embedded in here, but now here they're embedded within context. So now the chocolate chips are surrounded by nice batter, and you get to navigate more easily. My examples are getting worse. Next question, please. Or hungry. Yes.
A question regarding the community or the people in the community. Yeah. Are there any plans to build a top of the thousands of people being this community? Because I see it's just about discussion forums, and we could create much better things out of it, like more gamification, co-creation, co-learning, and so on. Anything like this on the roadmap?
There is a strategy for that. It is very early stage, but we have a desire absolutely to build the social network and the network effect access. So we'll call you for additional ideas. Yeah, right now, yeah. We'll call Peter then.
There's one more question, and in the realms of talking about how do you actually apply SAFe in a certain role, I like to hand over the microphone to Peter from Applied SAFe.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make a comment than a question, and hearing about the roles, RT, and all these learnings for these roles, I think the most important role, when I'm developing a product, is a product manager, product owners. And they're not that much emphasized, in my opinion, as it could be. Yeah. Because if I'm really developing a product, that's the coolest job I could have. Yeah. That's what I would run for. But it's usually talking about RT, about the ceremonies, about running a system. But this is like the heart of the system, the product. Yeah. That's what I would like to see.
Well, the RT also has a hard job. Sure. But I agree with you. Being in a product manager role myself, it is on our roadmap this year. This morning, actually, there was an announcement. The existing product manager article was just updated. So that was released this morning. But in terms of curating the journey for that role and starting to surround them with such assets, it's on our 2023 roadmap. Yeah. What else is on your mind? Except for Felix's hard questions, your questions have been delightful.
Which concerts?
It's more like a festival now.
I think it's about Nashville and going from concert to concert next summer. Maybe you can speak about.
Yes, we hope to see you guys in the next summit in Nashville, and we have a summit coming up in Prague in May. It's pretty exciting. All right, anything from online?
No more questions online unless my computer is lagging.
Fantastic.
Anyone else questions from online? Please ask them now. If not, we have a few minutes and grab another cup of coffee.
We have time for a Madonna song?
For empanadas? What do you say?
We have time for a Madonna song.
Oh, for Madonna song. We're live now. Holiday. Thank you all. We appreciate you. And again, if you have feedback, let us know. Let us know. We're evolving. We're transforming. We have the humility to say we are venturing into a new world that we're very excited about, and we have a lot to learn.
Thank you, Deema.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.